Sup boys, we're back!
I look so ass. Can I change my appearance?
This is my first time playing Terraria. Well, okay, I did kill Wall of Flesh back in 2014, but I just quit the game after that because I didn't realize there was more to it. Way more to it. Back then I thought after defeating the Wall of Flesh, I just unlocked some kind of new game plus where the game will just get harder. Little did I know. I streamed everything live on Twitch, where the chat helped me a lot during my playthrough. So make sure to check it out, since I will also be playing the Calamity mod in its entirety for the first time as well. When I was creating my first world, I did not set anything, and I just let the game choose whatever it wanted. I got the Crimson as my world's evil, which at the time I didn't know what it meant. For my first playthrough, I decided to choose Classic as a difficulty, but later on I also managed to beat Expert mode. We will also come to that later. One thing I loved from the start is that you only need to chop like a handful of trees and you could build a small house with the bare essentials. It saves so much time. So here I am, building a small, ugly house and exploring the world. It was fun, though I did find myself getting a little bit overwhelmed on all the different items I got, but it always made me curious and want to explore even more. Also, shout out to chest auto sorting. I think every single RPG is required to have this quality of life feature. It's insane. After some mining, exploring, and mining again, I was finally prepared to kill the first boss, the Eye of Cthulhu, and I succeeded after a miserable fail. After killing it, it drops Demonite or Primatane, depending on your world, which allows you to craft weapons and soon its armor. This is exactly how you progress through the game. You explore, you go mining, you kill enemies, you get these items to prepare for your next boss. And once you're prepared, you take it on and kill it, unlocking new content once defeated. So I dashed through pre-hard mode, lobotomizing the brain of Cthulhu, overthrew the Bee Queendom and other horrible crimes until I finally reached it, the Wall of Flesh. I remembered from my playthrough many years ago, I needed to build a long platform in order to fight the boss effectively. It was a little annoying trying to build it when you have like 50,000 enemies attacking you, but I managed to do it. After a couple of tries, I managed to finally kill the boss. This is where the old me left the game. Everything from this point on is completely blind and new to me, and this is where the game actually starts. Hard mode. What is it? In short, new enemies, new biomes, new ores, new bosses, new everything. Really, it's harder, a lot harder. With some guidance from chat, I went and broke my first demon altars in the Crimson, which summoned the new ores in hard mode. After a big mining session, I crafted my new shiny armor and some crazy weapons to use for my next challenge, the mechanical bosses. I first tried to fight the destroyer as recommended by my chat, and it was piss easy. The probes dropped hearts and piercing weapons made the boss trivial. Next, I tried to kill Skeleton Prime, which completely tore me a new one, but I managed to beat him soon after. Finally, for twins. They did whoop my ass a couple times, but I found the strat using gravitational potions and the fight became easier because of that. Oh, stop! What the oh, Jesus, GG!
All in all, they were fun and challenging fights. After defeating the twins, I received a message in the chat saying that the jungle became restless. This is one thing that I love about this game. It doesn't directly point where exactly you're supposed to go. It only gives you hints for you to figure out all by yourself. Well, unless you check the wiki, which most people do, but anyways. After upgrading my gear, I made my way to the jungle, and my chat warned me that the jungle is the hardest area in the entire game, especially in hard mode, and for once, they were actually right. 500 enemies, endless traps, bees. Oh, you found something new in the jungle? Well, it's probably gonna kill you. So, what was I looking for in the jungle anyway? Why the hell did the game make me go through this hell on earth? Well, I was on the lookout for Plantera bulbs. They are large pink flowers which, when destroyed, summons the next boss that I need to defeat. While looking for the bulbs, I stumbled upon a large orange structure with blocks I couldn't mine yet. I stored this place at the back of my mind while I continued my search for the bulbs. I used Spelunker potions to find these bulbs faster. Spelunker potions are basically wall hacks. You can see ores and treasure glow up so you don't have to literally search for them, which is really helpful and a really nice quality of life addition to the game. Once I found the bulb, I thought myself, nah, I got this can't be that hard, right? I died. Thankfully, Terraria always respawns a bulb whenever a bulb is broken, so there is no waiting time in between fights. This time I chose to create a vertical shaft where I would drop down and release all my spells on that stupid plant, and it worked!
Let's go!
We had finally killed Plantera with this shaft strat, which was definitely not cheesing the boss. Plantera dropped a temple key and I knew exactly where to go with that one. I remembered that orange structure I found earlier. It was the jungle temple. I was greeted with lots and lots of traps. It is a somewhat large dungeon which leads to the final room, housing the next boss, which is the Golem. In the center of the boss room, there was an altar which required a battery that was dropped by the temple's enemies. Once the battery was inserted, Golem spawns, and I died. Well, that's only because there were also traps inside the boss area. Who came up with that shit? The boss himself isn't that impressive or hard, but I still somehow managed to struggle on it.
Got him!
After defeating the Golem, my chat told me that my next goal would wait for me in the overworld dungeon. So I went there and I couldn't believe my eyes. There was cultists standing in front of the dungeon. My intrusive thoughts came and I gave in. And it turns out that summons the next boss, the lunatic cultist. God, I hate that boss. He teleports every couple seconds, casts spells on you and even clones himself. During the clone phase, if you take too long or hit the wrong cultist, he will spawn a phantasmal dragon which makes everything even worse than it already is. Eventually though, I eviscerated him off the face of this planet.
Got him!
And then I saw a chat message. I immediately opened my map and saw these 4 worm thingies. The game got me so hooked that I needed to know what these are. So I went there and I got obliterated by new monsters.
What is happening in this game?
These were not worms. No, they're celestial pillars. Well, how do you kill it? Go to a pillar, kill 100 enemies, after which the pillar's shield will be depleted, and you can finally kill the pillar itself. Thankfully, you don't have to kill these 100 enemies in one run. The amount of killed is saved between deaths and sessions. When killing the pillars, they drop a fragment respective to their type, which is an endgame material. Each fragment type represents a class in Terraria. Nebula for mage, solar for melee, vortex for ranged, and stardust for summoner. After killing the final pillar, a strange effect lingered on my screen. I actually got goosebumps from this. After a minute or so, the Moon Lord appeared. The final challenge of the game. The final boss of Terraria. Well, I got obliterated again.
Jesus!
But that's where chat helped me once more. They suggested that I make a really long platform in the sky using asphalt blocks. Asphalt blocks make you go faster when moving on them, so I did that. I also learned that I need to fly around the boss when it does the phantasmal Giga Death Ray, and eventually I managed to kill the final boss of Terraria and watch the credits roll. My journey had finally come to an end. There was still one thing left: expert mode. The true Terraria experience. Well, I had a pretty miserable time with it, mainly because I ended up playing Summoner after the start of hard mode, because I just went with whatever emblem Wall of Flush dropped.
Oh please, melee! Summoner? No!
During pre-hard mode, I tried to fight the Ender of Cthulhu again. I thought that it was going to be as easy as it was in Classic, but suddenly, when it reached 50% HP, it transformed and changed its attacks. In Expert mode, all bosses and some enemies have different AI, which are more aggressive, and new attacks combined with significantly more damage from all sources. I was shocked, but also excited knowing that I will have a complete brand new experience fighting all the bosses again. After killing the Eye of Cthulhu, it didn't drop the items like on my Classic playthrough. Instead, it dropped a treasure bag with a bunch of items in it. One of them is always an Expert exclusive boss drop, which I found to be very cool. In this case, I got the Shield of Cthulhu, which provided me with a useful dash, which will help me a lot for future bosses. Now on to something I didn't mention when talking about my Classic playthrough. Random events can happen in this game, ranging from a goblin army waging war on your base to literal aliens. I did not mention this earlier because in Classic, events aren't as important as they are in Expert, as you need the best of the best equipment for Expert mode, and a lot of that gear does come from these events. These events are cool and quite fun, and they provided you with really useful stuff. Once defeating the Goblin Army event, in particular, an NPC can spawn underground for you to save. This NPC is really helpful as they allow you to roll more stats on your weapons and accessories. Don't underestimate those 4% damage boost on your accessories. It really adds up. Reforging requires coins though. It can get quite expensive for later. That's why you should always save up your money in a piggy bank. I love the fact that you can just store all your money inside the piggy bank and spend it on NPCs without actually having them in your inventory, which is a big quality of life. Quick side note for my expert playthrough. How in the hell do people play Summoner anyway? They only have like 5 dedicated armor sets for the whole game.